Ahoy there, me mateys. Oh, I really can't take myself seriously wearing a pirate hat and an eye patch. Anyway, today's video we're going to learn how to make a pirate hat. The eye patch video will be separate, so I will put a link down in the description box below, and that will take you to the eye patch video. I really need a little kid to model this because they'd look so much cuter than what I do. Oh well, I hope you got a laugh out of it. So let's get started on the lesson. Supplies we're going to need is some yarn. I've got worsted weight, which is equivalent to 10 ply. You could also use double knit, sports weight, or 8 ply. I have a crochet hook to go with my yarn. It normally recommends an eye or a 5.5mm crochet hook, but I have very loose tension, so I'm actually going to be using a 5mm or a H size hook. Going to need a pair of scissors, and if you watch my videos all the time, you'll know the last ones I had were blunt, and these are a new pair, so they're nice and sharp. We have a yarn needle with a very big eye. It makes it a lot easier to thread our ends in. And we're going to need a stitch marker. You can use a professional stitch marker, you can use a bobby pin. For this hat, I found it easier to use like a long piece of yarn, and you'll see why we need the long piece of yarn in the video, and it's probably about 12 inches or 30 centimeters long. But like I said, you can use a stitch marker if you want to. We will also need a calculator, and you'll also need a tape measure. So putting all that aside, I'm going to be starting with a magic ring. You could also use chain 4 and join with a slip stitch, but I'm going to be using a magic ring for this hat. So there's plenty of ways to make a magic ring. The easiest way I've found is I just grab the short piece in my left hand, or you could do it in your right hand if you're left-handed. Wrap it around your fingers. So we've got a loop or a circle. And then just holding the circle like that, I've put my yarn on my hand. I'm still holding where the circle joins at the top. Putting my hook into the center of the yarn. Grabbing yarn, pulling through. And I do a chain 1 just to secure that into the loop. So now you can let go of the loop, it's not going to come undone because you've got your chain 1 to secure it there. We're going to be using the half double crochet stitch, and for the half double crochet we start with 10 stitches in the middle, and I'm just pulling the long piece of yarn there just to make my circle a little bit easier to work with. So we're not counting this first one as a stitch. So half double crochet is wrapping our yarn, so putting the yarn around your needle, going into the center. If you've used the chain 4 and join, you're going to go into the center of your circle. Pulling up like that. You've got 3 loops, yarn over, and pull through all 3. Do that again. Yarning over, going into the center of the circle. Yarn over, pull up a loop. And then yarn over, pull through all 3. I'll show you one more time. Yarn over, go into the loop, so it's into the center there. Yarn over, pull up, so you're pulling through the loop. And then yarn over and pull through all 3. So altogether we need 10 stitches, so that's 3, so that's 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And always go and check back just to make sure, because it's really quick. There's not many stitches there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, and 10. Excellent. I have 10 stitches. And most times when we make a hat, if we're using the double crochet stitch, we join at the end of each row. So we would join with a slip stitch up here. But in this hat, we're not going to. And this is where our trusty yarn piece of yarn comes in, our long piece or our stitch marker. What we can do now is also pull on the center loop if you've made your magic ring, just to close up the center here. Hole disappears. So into the first stitch, you can count back if you need to see which stitch it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, which is here. I'm going to zoom in a bit. So that is my first stitch there. So we're going to yarn over, go into the stitch, going through both loops. You've got 2 loops on your hook. I just realised that my crochet hook goes in my yarn. So we're going to pull up a loop and then pull through. What we want to do is grab our stitch marker or our piece of yarn. So if you've got a stitch marker, you're going to put it through this stitch here, and you're also going to do the same with your piece of yarn. So grabbing your piece of yarn, just putting it over the top of the crochet hook and then pulling through. And you won't need to tie it off if it's quite long, because it will get trapped in the stitch. And we need to put 2 stitches in that first stitch, so yarning over, going back into the same stitch, pulling through. And in every stitch around, until we get back to our stitch marker, we're going to work 2 stitches into the same one. So yarning over, going into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, so that's 1, that's 2. Into the next stitch, we're going to work 2 half double crochets. Into every stitch around, we're going to be working 2 half double crochets. Once we get back around to the beginning, we should have 20 stitches around the outside. And when we get to our stitch marker, so it's the stitch with the marker hanging out of it, what we can do is, with the yarn, we're just going to pull that to the back. If you've got a stitch marker, you're going to put it into the next stitch. So we're going to do a half double crochet into the stitch, and then if you're using this sort of stitch marker, you're going to place it in the top there. What we need to do now is work another row of increase, and we're going to be working an increase into every second stitch. So the first one has 1 half double crochet because we've already done that one, and into the next stitch, because it's every second, we're going to work 2 double crochets, 2 half double crochets, and this is counted as an increase because we've got 2 stitches into the same stitch. Into the next stitch, work 1 half double crochet, and into the next one, work 2 half double crochets. Into the next one, work 1 half double crochet. Into the next one, because it's every second, it's 2 half double crochets, sorry. And into every stitch until we get back to here, we're going to repeat that around. So we've just done 2 into that one, so it's 1 into the next, 2 into the next one. So repeat that around, working an increase in every second stitch. When we get back to the beginning, So we've got our mark stitch here. We end on an increase. So what we're going to do is grab our stitch marker and then make sure you're grabbing the right piece. Pull that to the front. Into the next stitch we're going to work 1 half double crochet. And then if you're using this kind of stitch marker, you're going to place that in the top here. So this time we're going to work it into every 3rd stitch, because the row before we did it into every 2nd stitch. So this one's into every 3rd, so that's the first one. So it's 1 half double crochet into this one. Into the next stitch, because that's going to be our 3rd, we're going to work an increase. So start again, so 1, into the next stitch, 1, into the 3rd stitch, and increase. That's 1, into the next stitch, that's 1, into the next stitch, and increase. So repeat that around into every 3rd stitch, work an increase. Come up to the end of the row, you've ended on an increase, and that will remind you that if you've done it right or not, because you'll be ending on an increase. So what we want to do now, we are going to grab our yarn. So grabbing the stitch marker yarn, putting it to the back. So this is a lot easier than having to move a stitch marker. I find it a lot easier. It's a lot quicker off camera obviously, but we're going to do 1 half double crochet into the next stitch. And of course if you're using your stitch marker, you're going to place it back up into the top here. And see how the stitch marker's like that, that's fine because we can just pull it out at the end, that's okay. So before we did it into every 3rd stitch, our increase, and now we want to do it into every 4th. And each row as we go along will be, the next one will be in the 5th, the next one will be in the 6th, and so on. So we've got 1, 2, 3, into the 4th stitch, I'm going to work 2 half double crochets. So into that one, that's 1, 1, and 1. Into the 4th stitch, it's 2. So in the next one, that's 1, 1, 1, and into the next one, it's 2. And repeat this all the way around until we get back to the stitch marker again. So I'm up to the end of my row and I ended on an increase. Now to make a hat that's going to fit you, and especially if it's for someone else, as long as we know the head measurement, we can make a hat that's probably going to fit. Like, it's not 100%, it's not going to be the exact measurement, but it's going to get you really, really close. So I have my trusty piece of paper with all my measurements on it. And these are guides for age groups. So you've got newborn, 3 to 6 months, 6 to 12, 12 to 3 years, 3 years old to 10 years old, a teenager and an adult. And some adults do have bigger heads than 58 centimetres. Oops. I will put a link below in the description box that will take you to a size chart that I have on my website so that you can print off your copy and keep it as reference. But all we need to know is the circumference of the head. Now, I'm making this for a, what is this, 4-year-old. So he's in this category, 3 to 10-year-old. And it's about 50 centimetres, and I actually know his head measurement is 50 centimetres, so that's going to fit. Yeehaw. So what we need to do is measure across the hat, multiply that number by 3.14, and this is what our circumference is going to turn out to be. So we grab our tape measure and we grab the crown that we've made so far and we lay it as flat as we can get it, and then we measure across. Now this is going to work with inches as well, so it's the exact same formula, you'll just have a different number. So across here, which is the diameter, I'm thinking, pretty sure it's the diameter. So measure across your hat anyway. So it's through the center of your hat. And I have 12 centimeters. So get your calculator. 12 centimeters times 3.14 equals 37.68. So we're going to round it up, so it's 38 centimeters. I've got to get mine to 50, so I know I have to increase a lot more. But let's just say we were going to be making it for, let's just say a newborn. So it's 37 centimeters, so 38 centimeters is almost going to fit a 3 to 6 month old. So once you get to your measurement, and don't forget that your hat will stretch a little bit, so if you've got it just a little bit smaller than the actual measurement that you need, it will be fine because it will stretch. But of course if it's a baby, it won't matter if it's a little tiny bit too big because babies grow very fast. So I need 50 centimeters. So another way you can work it out, and I hope this bit doesn't confuse you, if you already know your head circumference, so I know mine's 50, if you divide that by 3.14, this measurement, so 15.9, so we'll say 16 centimeters, is how big you want this across here. So, and that's what I need. So I need that to be 16 centimeters. And what do we say? It was 12. Yeah. So I need to increase mine until it's a lot bigger. To where my fingers are here. I need to increase it out. So I've got a few more rows to go. So let's see how we do the next rows. So what did we do on the row before? We have an increase, 1, 2, 3, increase. So at this one, we're going to grab our stitch marker, pull that around. And we do this each row so that we know where we're up to. Going to half double crochet into the first stitch. And if you're using this stitch marker, you're going to place it into the top up there. So we've got 1, 2, 3. How many did I say I needed? So I got 3 on the previous row, so I need 4 in between. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Into that 5th stitch, we're going to work our increase. So 1 by itself, 1 by itself, 1 by itself. In the next stitch, which is the 5th stitch, we're going to work an increase. Over the next 4 stitches, we're going to work 1 half double crochet in each stitch. Into the next one, we're going to work an increase. And we're going to repeat this all the way around until we get back to our stitch marker. So did you end on an increase? I did, so I know I did it right. So grabbing your stitch marker, putting it to the back. And you probably already know what the next lot of rounds are going to be if you need to do more increasing, but I'm going to show you just one more time. Half double crochet into the next stitch. If you're using the other stitch marker bobby pin, you're going to put it into that stitch here. So because we had 1, 2, 3, 4 in-betweener increases, we're going to need 5 in-betweener increases. That's 1. So over the next, from the stitch marker over the next 5 stitches, we will work 1 half double crochet. So we've done 1. So that's the second, third, fourth, fifth. Into the 6th stitch, we're going to work an increase. Over the next 5 stitches, we're going to work 1 half double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and an increase. And we're going to repeat this all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and an increase. Repeat this all the way around until we get back to the stitch marker. If you need to do more increase rounds, I'll show you the next round, and then if you need to do more after that, I'm sure you've got the idea. So move your stitch marker if you've got your yarn into the next stitch. If you've got your clip-on one, clip it into that stitch there. So into the next, what have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Into the next 6 stitches. We've already done 1, so we'll be into the next 5. We need to do 1 stitch. 2, 3. Into the next one, we're going to work an increase. Into the next 6 stitches, we're going to work 1 half double crochet. Into the next stitch, we're going to work an increase. You're going to repeat that all the way around until you get back to your stitch marker. And don't forget, as you go, measure across, maybe do it every second row just to see where you're up to. Once we have our hat, top of our hat wide enough, so you've measured and you've got your correct measurement, then we work 1 half double crochet into every stitch around. So there's no more increasing at all. So it's just 1 half double crochet in each stitch. And we will continue working around until we get back to our stitch marker. And every row from now on until we get the length of the hat is exactly the same. It's just 1 half double crochet in each stitch around. And then we're going to continue on until, and here's one I prepared earlier, until we have our hat 1 inch shorter than the length that we need. I will put the link to the hat size document that I have on my website, and you can go and check that out, so you'll know how much shorter you need to make it than the proper measurement. And I accidentally cut off my yarn because this was going to be for another project, but then I've decided to use it for this. So you will still have your yarn attached, so don't cut it off. And what we need to do to finish the row, so I've got my stitch marker, we can take that out now. To finish the row, we do a single crochet into the next stitch. So that's just putting your hook into the stitch, pulling up, working your single crochet, and then we're going to work a slip stitch. So it's into the stitch and pulling through. Then I just like to work a chain stitch to come up to the next row. Now, like I said, my yarn has been cut off. Yours will still be attached to the ball. So the chain one is for the next row. We don't count that as a stitch, but we're going to work 1 row of half double crochet all the way around. Now it is the same as the last row, but this row I wanted you to join it because I want it to be a nice neat finish. So what we need to do is yarn over, go into the same stitch and work a half double crochet. I'm just going to join in the yarn because I'm running out. And then we're going to work a half double crochet into every stitch. Just working over my tails as I go, so I don't have to weave them in later. And continue along until we get back to the beginning of the... When we get back to the beginning of the row, I've still got 2 stitches. Excuse me. We're going to go into the first half double crochet and make a slip stitch to join. Now we're going to make a chain. This chain can be as long as you want. Now with my size hook, which is a 5mm or a H hook, and worsted weight yarn, about 40 chains is what I chose for this hat. Depending on how long you want the tie up on the side of your hat, that's how many chains you're going to make. Now don't forget you need enough so you can actually make a knot to tie it up. But of course you can make it as long as you want. If you're using 8-ply, double knit or sports weight, I would suggest probably 50 chains. No, I'm not actually counting, PS, by the way. I'm just making chains. So make enough chains until you've got 40 chains, and it's about 11 to 12 inches long. Once you have your 40 chains, or the length that you want yours, you're going to find your scissors. If anything like mine, they grow legs and run away. And we're going to cut that off. And then just do an extra chain because that's going to be the knot on the end. So we've got our first chain attached, and we need to add the other chain, but we need to add it on the left hand side of where this chain is. Now I've already added it on the right hand side and filmed it, and it came out wrong because yeah, this is like take 20,000. Yeah. So we need to join our yarn on this side so that when we make our chain and crochet back across, we're going to be crocheting around the largest section of the hat rather than this little itty bitty bit. So grabbing your hook, going about 1 inch across, putting your hook in like so, finding the end of the yarn because this is all the stuff I just ripped out. Oop. Yep, there were plenty of frogs at my house just recently. Ripping the work out. Haha. Here we go. So we're going to add our yarn. Just lay it over the hook, pull through, and just do a chain to secure. And now we're going to work a chain exactly the same as we did on the other side. So I used 40 chains, or you could have used a measurement. You're going to make exactly the same. So do that and I'll be back in a second. So now we have 2 chains that are attached to our hat. What we're going to do is we're going to add 2 chains on the end. And we're going to half double crochet into the 3rd chain from the hook. This is the one that we don't count on our hook. This is the 1st, that's the 2nd, and that's the 3rd. So yarning over, going into that stitch, and working your half double crochet. If you work your chains differently to me, you're most welcome to do that way. So half double crochet in every chain across until we get back to the main section of the hat. So I have my chain done, and once you get back to the hat, you've got your other chain here. We're going to work across this way. And this is what I had wrong before. Just trust me, it was wrong. The joys of crochet. So now we're going to crochet onto our hat section. And that's that little short section between the chains. We're not crocheting across there, we're crocheting across this way. And we're going to crochet all the way around until we get back to the chain that's on this side, this little skinny chain that we haven't worked into yet. Once we get back to the chain, we're going to work into the chain. So that last stitch I did was into my hat. And then next one is into the chain. And then into each chain across. Until we get to the end of our chain. So after we finish that second chain, this is what our hat looks like. We've got these two tie-up things like that. And now we're going to change to our... And I got new scissors. I'm so excited because watch this. Oh, look how sharp they are. Alrighty, so change colour. I mean, you don't have to change colour, but I think the stripe makes it look really cute. We want to do so in our last part of our stitch. So I'm just going to pull that one out and then half double crochet. So into that last chain, pull up a loop. Grabbing your new colour, pulling through all 3 loops. And I just chain 1 there just to secure that down. Turn that around. Chain 1. And I'm going to break the rules of crochet because that's how I roll. And normally you would skip that first stitch. You would skip this one and work into that second one, but I don't know, I just think with the half double crochet stitch and also single crochet, I work in the first stitch. Yes I do. And when I come back across, I work into the top of the half double crochet and not that chain. Gives it, I think personally, gives it a more firmer edge. Okay, so we're going to work across and work our half double crochet. Now if you want to work it with a ribbed band across here, what we can do is work into the back loop only. So this one is our front one and this one is our back one. So yarning over, going into the back loop and work your stitches normal. Yarning over, going into the back loop, actually I'm going to do that because I reckon that's going to look cool. Give it a different texture to the actual hat. Okay, so we're working back loops only, still working half double crochet. And we're going to work all the way, and we're going to work all the way down here, which is our chain section that we had. Then when we get to, so we're going to come across here, going to go onto our hat, work all the way around our hat, then you will be coming around here, and then you're going to work all the way down this chain that we did before, all the way to the end, okay? So continue on and I'll meet you when we get to the end of here. When we get to the end, we need to change colours. So we're going to not finish off our stitch. Find our red. and then do a chain, pull down, spin that around. Oh, if you can hear a tapping noise, it's my jacket. Just realised it's quite annoying. Alrighty, so working into that first stitch, we're going to go into the back loop only. Now you can work into the front loop only, but you have to continue working in that same loop for the whole band, and that will just still give you a rib look, but I don't know, just working in a different loop. Just excuse me 1 sec. I'm doing my jacket so that thing stops tapping. So work into the back loop, and I'm going to be working I'm going to see how wide it is after how long my hat is after I've done this red line, but I may add 2 more rows, or I may not, depending on the length of the hat and if it's the length that I need, because you don't want to make it too long because the poor person wearing it won't be able to see. So see how it's giving you that ribbed texture. It's looking great. So continue along until you get to the other end of the strap, and also, so I'm up to the end, and I'm going to finish off this row. My hat has enough height, and I'm going to cut off my yarn. I'm just going to do a chain 1, and that just secures the end off there. Pull tight, and we're going to need to sew in any ends. I've got quite a few. We're going to sew those in, and then after that we're going to do some slip stitching for a little bit of decoration. So where's my needle? There we go. Now I'm sure you know how to sew ends in, but if you don't, I'll just show you how to do it. You're going to sew in between the stitches. So what I like to do is just pick up underneath these 2 stitches here, just here, and then just work it along. So I've gone probably an inch or so there, and then I like to work it back across, but this is the last stitch we went under. We're going to skip that one and go into the next one. Doing the same thing all the way across. And then we trim off this little bit here with my nice sharp scissors. And we're going to do that for all of our ends. You've probably worked over them as you go and done the right thing, but if you'd like me, we've got a few ends to sew in. So continue with that one, and then I'll come back and we'll show you how to do the slip stitching. We're going to attach the white yarn to the back of the hat. This is between the tie-up sections. Sorry, we're going to go behind the stitch. And then we're going to put our yarn on. Do a chain 1 to secure. Later on we'll be putting this into the back of the hat. What we're going to do is go behind each stitch. So we're going behind each stitch with our crochet hook and working a slip stitch into the next one, behind the stitch and working a slip stitch. Don't pull these too tight, otherwise it will change the size of your hat. Behind the stitch, work a slip stitch, okay, so we're going to continue this all the way around. So at the moment we're working down our strap. We're going to go all the way down our strap, all the way across the end, back down the strap, and then all the way around the hat, and we're just going to continue, and eventually you will get back to the beginning here. Once we get back to the beginning, we're going to slip stitch under the first slip stitch. So we've gone under that first one, and then work our slip stitch. Cut off our yarn as long enough piece so we can sew it in, and then pull that yarn through. Now you'll see that it's become loose like that, but what we're going to do is going to stitch it down. So we're going to put our needle through the stitch, and then pull it like that. So there we go, that's finished off. Come over to the back, and what you can do is you can either tie, this is the beginning thread, you can either tie that in a knot. I don't normally tie knots, but I think if we don't, that is going to come undone. So we can tie that in a knot. That is one of the rules that we just broke again, because we don't normally tie knots in our work. So we're just going to stitch what I'm doing is I'm just going under the slip stitch. We're weaving in our ends. And we may actually need to go back through some of the stitches. Work it as close as you can to the white. We don't want it so it shows through on the other side, so we don't want that there. So we'll just go back through that one. We don't want it so it's poking through on the other side. Might just work my way back this way. An easy way to tell when you turn it over, if you can see your needle, which I can't see mine, then you'll be able to see your white thread. You see that bug? Oi! Stop video bombing. Get away. What is that thing? Go. We just got video bombed by like a micro bug. He's back, look. Hello? Get out. Don't even know what that is. Hopefully it's gone now. Snippity snip. Looking good. And then do the same to your other end. We're going to sew that one. So I have my hat finished, and I hope you enjoyed this video. So you can also make an eye patch. I will put the link below for the eye patch tutorial. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed making your hat. I've actually made this one for myself. I was making one for the 4-year-old in the video, but I actually made one for myself as well before I finished filming. So I'm all ready for Halloween or a pirate party. Arrgh.